Alright. Hello, welcome to Blog With Me TV. My name is Colin and this is the channel where we wander around bits of London and have a look at their history, and I try and tell you a little bit about it. Now, this could be one of the shortest videos I've ever made because we're about to go into the legal district, and I'm assuming I'm okay to film now because it's open to the public, but we'll see what happens. Alright, so let me just spin round. And where we are at the minute is known, or was known in the past, in the sort of Middle Ages, as Alsatia, and this is the Tudor Street entrance to the legal district. So Alsatia, I mentioned before, whenever we were doing the Fleet Street walk, was a bit of a lawless area, and apparently the locals and the legal establishment had a few arguments over the years. In fact, in 1691, the legal profession tried to break up the entrance here to stop them coming in, and this led to one of the builders being killed, and then the sheriff, when he came along to sort it out, apparently the sheriff got knocked over in the ensuing fracas. Now, if I just tilt up, the gateway there, the archway, it says 1887. So that's obviously when this one relates to. And you can see you've got Pegasus, the winged horse, and that is the symbol of Inner Temple. So the legal district here is Inner Temple leading to Middle Temple, the two of the Inns of Court. Oh, okay. Traffic coming. So here we go. Right. So the story of the Inns of Court, it's basically the story of two strands of history. So one of them is the people who owned the land, and the other one is basically the people who populated it. So this is Inner Temple. I'm just going to use a map. I've got a map here. And yeah. So these buildings here, this is called, it's very pretty, isn't it, with the cherry blossoms. I assume that's what they are. So this is King's Bench Walk. And I believe these buildings date from the 1670s and were designed by Christopher Wren. And let's face it, got in everywhere. So not happy enough designing most of the churches in the City of London, he also designed a number of the buildings here and elsewhere. So, and in fact, sorry, on this one, number 8, you can see the winged Pegasus again for Inner Temple, and you can see the year 1782. And this little bit of garden here leads into Inner Temple Gardens, which are much bigger than they look from here because it goes right round the outside of that other building. It's actually 3 acres in size. The building over there is called Paper Buildings, and that's because in 1610, when they were first built, they weren't made of brick. They were made of sort of wood and plaster, and then over time it got replaced. I think it was in 1838. Got replaced with brick buildings. Now, I am trying a new thing with the microphone today because any of you have been following me up to now, you'll know I've been experimenting with different ways of recording to try and avoid the sound of my breathing and the sound of my footsteps. Now, I should say, I've been off this week, and as there's always a way when you got a week off work, I came down with a bug. I have been coughing, like sounding and talking like Louis Armstrong, and very blocked up nose. So if I have the odd cough or sneeze, that'll be why. Alright, so let's go back to the history of the area. So we go back to 1119, and you had the formation of a thing called the Knights Templar. And they were a sort of militarized part of the Catholic Church who fought in the Crusades and went off to protect the Holy Land from Islam. And the Knights Templar became very, very popular, or very, very powerful all across Europe. They were the bankers of Europe, and they had various headquarters across Europe, especially in Paris and here. They were originally in Holborn, not far away from here, and then they moved and acquired the land here in 1192. And from not long after that, people, lawyers, legal profession, tended to sort of gravitate towards this area because I suppose it was cheaper, especially for lawyers on the make, the younger ones, cheaper to live, and they would rent accommodation down here. And it sort of, and then it's like a lot of businesses. Once one group starts, it tends to grow and it attracts more of them. So the Knights Templar owned the land until 1307, because in 1307 a big event happened across Europe, but initially in France, and that was the sort of the downfall of the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar had gotten very powerful. They were very, very rich. They controlled a lot of the money, obviously in the name of the faith. But the French king got very jealous of this and needed some dosh himself. And a bit of false news, he then did a bit of a night of the long knives on them, and killed some, put others in jail, spread the news that they had been sort of being dodgy with the money, and then took it all for himself. So a bit of a money and power grab. I can't remember the exact date. It was 1307. I do know it was Friday the 13th, and because it was all done on that day, that's why it's Friday the 13th to this day is deemed to be unlucky. So, the 1307, that started the downfall of the Knights Templar. This land then got given over in 1312 to the Knights Hospitallers, who were another militarised wing of the Catholic faith. And they controlled it for the next couple of hundred years, and they leased it out increasingly to members of the legal profession. And the legal profession had started growing, especially after 1292, because what happened was Edward I gave control of the legal profession, the training of lawyers and the rules around it all. He put it under the power of judges as opposed to the church. And in that way it stayed secular. And the legal profession has two real branches to it here in England or the UK. So you would have solicitors who will do the day-to-day things like house conveyances, divorces, various other things. But if you want to go to court, you have to be represented by a barrister, and barristers can only be trained at the Inns of Court, which is where we are now. And there were 4 inns. There was Inner Temple, Middle Temple, Grays and Lincoln, and that's still the case today. So 1292, if we take that as a starting point, that is getting on for, 730 years, something like that. Hasn't done too bad. The first official sort of record of Inner and Middle Temple wasn't until 1388. But as I say, lawyers had been leasing land in this area for some time prior to that, and then it became very much more established. And if you want to be a barrister and appear in court, this will be one of the inns that you come to. And so the Inns of Court, they would provide training for the young barristers. They provide office space, which are called chambers, for the barristers. They provide research libraries. They would provide a temple hall. Each inn has its own hall, and that would be for social and ceremonial occasions. And as a general rule, public aren't allowed into them. I'm looking up my map now, and let me see. I think this building here on the right that I'm looking at now, the big brown one, they're all a bit browny, aren't they? But the one here with the big arched windows, that is Inner Temple Hall. So, oh yeah, you can see the sort of crests that are sort of built into the windows. If we, I just scroll up, see the above the clock there. You've got the wind weather vane, and it's got the Pegasus on it for Inner Temple. And the one thing you notice when you come in here, out of Fleet Street or from Blackfriars where I came, is it's just so much quieter. Obviously there's people talking, but the sound of traffic just disappears. So this gateway dates from 1730, and you can see at the centre at the top, Pegasus for Inner Temple. Beneath it is a griffin, and that is a symbol for Gray's Inn, which we will visit on another day. But apparently Gray's Inn and Inner Temple have a close relationship. But it's rather grand, isn't it? If we take a quick nosy in, it says Inner Temple Gardens, open hours usually 12:30 to 3, Monday to Friday. So yeah, be aware if you're ever coming over. It's only open sort of weekdays. It all gets locked up at the weekends and in the evenings. So as I say, 3 acres of garden in the heart of London. Wildflower meadow, please stay on path. Very pretty, huh? And obviously a very chilled out place to have your lunch, which I did once or twice. At one point in my life, about 20 years ago, I worked around the corner. And I did pop in here a few times. Mind you, I also popped into the pub a few times.
Nice seeing you. Yes, please do. Good luck with all your interviews. See you on Sunday, yeah? See you Sunday. Wait, oh, by the way, are you going to prepare a topic, or are we going to do like a raw? Yeah, I'll give you 15 minutes to read up on it.
Okay. So, we'll continue on. Now, I'm not quite certain what the difference is. Or what sort of delineates between Inner Temple and Middle Temple, apart from the buildings, if you see what I mean. I'm not sure why one of them became Inner Temple and what the other one became Middle. And to be honest, the history of it all seems to be a bit obscure. But either way, they sort of stay side by side with each other, work together, share the same church, which you may recognise from the Da Vinci Code, the round Templar church. So another building, Crown Office Chambers with a Pegasus on it. Now, how far did we get the history? We got as far as the Knights Hospitallers. They got it in 1312, and they continued, as I said, they continued to lease out the buildings until their demise, which took place during the period of the dissolution under Henry VIII. So that would have been in the 1530s, whenever the Catholic Church was sort of quelled. And I don't know who was looking after the place after that, but obviously the legal profession continued, because in 1609, the King James I, after the death of Elizabeth I, James I granted the land to the legal professions, the Inns of Court, in perpetuity, provided they looked after the church and the master's house. And obviously that's what they've continued to do until this time. Now, the reason I'm standing here at this archway, I hope you can see, if you're on a big enough screen you'll be able to see it, is we're moving in the Middle Temple, because you can see there is a sheep or a lamb above the archway there. And it's interesting because you can see one further in. So the one at the front, I would suggest, is more modern, not 1954. And I'm guessing the model of the sheep further in is a bit older, above the doorway on the next building. So as I say, we are moving into Middle Temple. And you can see the sheep with the cross. And obviously, the religious side of things was very important, even though it was sort of managed as a secular society. This is where I try and figure out, where the hell am I going? Okay, so let's go up this way. I've got a map, but I'm not sure how good it is, or whether I just can't read it. Ah, it's a lamb building, so that would make you think that that logo we've been seeing is a lamb, and not a sheep, as I said. Just going to have a quick look in here. Ah, yes. I think if I remember right, the church is around this way. Ah. We have lamb building. With a golden lamb on it. You see that? I've got anything to do with the golden fleece. Anyway, there's that. If I remember right, the building that we're walking towards now, there's somebody sitting under it, so I don't want to bother them. But there's a big sign on that older looking building there, which says it was the buttery, which medieval times was the food storehouse for the church. Yeah, ancient buttery, 1515 to 1666, destroyed in a Great Fire. And here we have the aforesaid Knights Templar Church with the round tower. Now, a couple of things to note. Knights Templar, well, let's go with this. Let's go with this sort of pillar here. So you can see the pillar. It's got the two men on a horse. On it, two knights on one horse. And that was to denote their frugality as almost like, poverty. So they didn't have a horse each. Two of them would share it. And initially the Knights Templar were called the Poor Fellows of Christ. But in marketing terms, it's not exactly a catchy name. And the Knights Templar took off after they made their first headquarters in the Holy Land on the ruins of King Solomon's Temple. And Templar, and so they became known as the Knights Templar. And this church and the round features and whatnot of it was because it was meant to replicate the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, which they saw as like, sort of ground point zero for them in their faith. The sort of birthplace of Christ. So this was supposed to be or have replication of that temple. And I'm going to see if I can get some footage inside. Now, they might say, go away, Colin, you're Irish. They might say you can feel free to wander around, but you can't film. So I shall ask, we'll see what they say. Okay, so if I can't take film, I'll take some pictures and then I'll cut them in afterwards. But here goes nothing. It is a lovely church from the outside, isn't it? Like, it is quite impressive. And as I was saying, it was used in the theory about the Da Vinci Code, which was all based on a completely, utterly bollocks theory that was sort of defunct, disproved many years ago as a fraud. But I know a lot of people sort of thought it was all based on truth. But there was about Christ's bloodline and sort of having descendants and all that, and how it was all sort of based on some possible truth. But there's a whole documentaries and books written about how it was completely fabricated. So music, but not until Tuesday. Okay, so £5. Let me get my money out, and then we'll ask about the filming. So I decided to end the video there because I had either one rather long video or I had sort of two sort of uneven ones. So I will add the footage that I got wandering around the Temple Church to the next video, which will also cover Middle Temple. Okay, so I hope you're enjoying this video. It's a bit different from the usual ones. And at some point in the future, we'll cover Lincoln's Inn and Gray's Inn as well. But unfortunately, you can only get into these places on weekdays, so I have to do it whenever I'm off. So, yeah, I'll put together the second half of this video and try and get it released for you next week so you can have a look in around the Temple Church. But as I say, hope you're enjoying these. If you want to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button below, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.